we've announced a strike on our video game contract. As of 12:01 a.m. tomorrow, work will stop on all affected titles for all members of this union until we are able to receive a counter from our bargaining group that gives us the AI protection specifically that we need.
We'll march till we drop, the girls and the fellas. We'll fight till the death or else fold like umbrellas. So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plant, but we have the power.
Let's say we move on to our last topic, and this one is covering the Sag-Aftra strike for the game industry. Worrying stuff. We'll cover, the whole kit and caboodle. What are, these game devs or, not the devs per se, but the performers. What are these performers? What do they want to see changed in the game? We'll look at all that. This was coming from the Los Angeles Times. Video game actors are on strike. Here's what that means. And this is being penned by Samantha Musunaga and Christy Carras. Carras? Okay. Yes. The Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio artists called a walkout this week on behalf of roughly 2,600 actors doing voiceover, motion capture, and other work in the game industry. Union leaders took the step after they could not reach an agreement on artificial intelligence terms while bargaining for a new contract with the top video game companies, including Activision, Electronic Arts, Insomniac, and Blind Light. Quote, "We're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members," Sag-Aftra President Fran Drescher said in a statement Thursday. Enough is enough. I'm wondering... Okay, this is July 24th. Anyway, that might have been what she said for the Hollywood one, because they had some similar grievances.
I think it's the same related union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen some actors talking about like contracts as far as using their likeness and their voice after they die.
Yes.
And then we see stuff like we did with the last Star Wars trilogy, where they've used like the old Obi-Wan's voice and stuff like that. They pieced together old stuff. They did something similar with now when they did the footage with Leia, they had a lot of footage that they cut and scrapped and didn't use, but they got with Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, and asked permission.
Right.
They asked for her guidance when it came to that last movie. And they actually used her as a body double to play her mom, and then used AI to do different things. So with that, that's fine, because you went to the next of kin and you got permission. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I've seen stuff where there's actors talking about, well, what if you decide to use my image and my voice for movies and I'm dead and this and that, like how does that go towards my estate or my family or whatnot? Mm-hmm. And the problem is that with the video game industry, we've already seen that they're taking advantage of AI and other things and trying to cut costs as far as how many developers they have on a team, this and that. Mm-hmm. They would absolutely use recordings that they own because they've paid for it of these actors, piece them together and create a new script for voice acting. They can absolutely do that. And I think that's what they're trying to prevent right now, is them being able to use all those scans and continue to use them for whatever they want without compensating the artists.
Right.
And that's the really bad thing. It's kind of like, if Spotify was just making money off of using my music, or like with Napster, that's why Metallica got so bent out of shape. It's like we're not getting anything for the hard work and the creativity that we did.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's also another part of it with generative AI is using a voice actor's voice to train an AI, so they never have to hire that person again.
Exactly.
Or they can
exactly. So they're making money.
pittance.
They're making money hand over fist, and the artist is not making any money.
Which are real concerns.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I mean, if you've heard some of the voices generated by AI, they can sound fairly convincing.
And they can do deep fakes, and it'll look like you did this or that. It's scary.
I understand them wanting them to get these terms in black and white.
Yes,
as far as what this can mean for them going forward. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it always feels like this, with this, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yes.
And we're just gonna have to deal with this. Yeah. And it's basically the actors or whoever versus the companies who have no real reason to want to do anything other than make money.
Yep.
That's their primary goal. Always is. Always was. Always will be.
Yeah. This is not gonna slow down or stop any. And a lot of people is like, use AI to help you in what you're doing. That way you can get ahead of the curve, because this technology is here now. Is here now. So use it to your benefit. I think there should be legislation introduced for this kind of thing. Let the eggheads up in Washington or do you still do Parliament? You guys do Parliament?
Yeah, they have Parliament.
In Canada, yes.
Canada.
You guys. Theorist, Canada. Not said it. He liked it. He thought it was funny. You go somewhere with yourself. We had an argument about
I speak for all Canadians, as we all know.
Yeah, well, we were talking, and he was just like, "It's stupid and that, and it sounds like this." And I was just
yes,
like,
it is, but it's still funny.
Canada is awesome. It's funny, and he was just like, "No," and I said, "Nos likes it."
Yeah,
both things can be true. It can be stupid and funny. Lots of things are.
Yeah, like me,
But as far as like what they can do about this, legislation is going to have to be passed. There's no way we can depend on these companies to, do the right thing as far as when it comes to saving money, hiring an actor to fill that same spot, or you can use AI. They're going to use AI. So we need something to protect these artists from this.
The issue though is so and it's interesting because there was another article related to this one, and it kind of works because this kind of goes into that. What if, suppose the U.S. says you can't, suppose the U.S. enacts legislation that protects actors and prevents their likenesses from being used to train or used in any way without the approval of the person's voice.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Awesome that legislation exists. We'll just produce our game somewhere else. We'll just go to another country where the laws are different. Because right now, if you want to work on a project, so the UK version of this union isn't going on strike. So you could just move your production to the UK and get it done there using union employees. Same thing was happening during like the big SAG-Aftra strike. A lot of productions were moving to the UK to produce there.
Yeah, because BAFTA stuff wasn't on strike, right?
No, I don't believe they were.
No, they couldn't have been, because we still got Doctor Who.
Such as it was.
BAFTA.
You did, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the SAG-Aftra and the WGA, the Writers Guild. They were the ones on strike.
Yeah, the writers were the big part of that one.
Yeah. So it says how do we get, we already read that. So how will this affect the video game companies? Much like last year's Hollywood writers and actors strikes against the film and TV studios and streaming services, this one could potentially lead to long-term production lulls, particularly for games scheduled for release in 2025 or 2026. Production is expensive and on a tight schedule. In reality, that doesn't give video game companies a lot of margin to sit this out, said Joost van Drunen, and an adjunct assistant professor at NYU Stern School of Business and author of One Up, Creativity, Competition, and the Global Business of Video Games. For instance, companies can't afford to miss out on the all-important holiday spending season. November and December traditionally account for about half of the annual game sales. He said that's ridiculous. If you don't get things across the line, if you can't finish your work and release it on time, you're going to miss a very, very important window, and that's going to hurt you financially, Van Drunen said. But not all games are covered by the strike. According to contract provisions, games that were in production when the union provided the company with notice of its termination are not subject to the strike order, according to Sag-Aftra spokesperson. So I guess that does mean 2026 games are probably going to be, and beyond, are going to be the ones that are most affected by this. If they're almost done and they're coming out in 2025, that's,
that's if they decide to, like, I don't.
So
I
like
don't
games
know
like
to
GTA
what.
and stuff.
Yeah, GTA is probably fine. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Nuss. Yeah.
Well, again, I remember hearing that they're exempt. They're exempt from the strike, so they can still employ union people.
Very cool.
So what I'm wondering is how many are going to go non-union, because there's so many non-union voice actors out there. So a lot may shift to that. And I know technically I think it's considered scabbing, but so that might scare some people away from participating in these projects, but not everybody.
Yeah,
it's true, because that's the same thing like with some of the actors, like Resident Evil girl, so I'm going to use that as an example. A lot of the, like, Leon Kennedy's voice actor, Jill's voice actor, all of that, they were replaced in the remakes because there were actors that were cheaper and they weren't part of the union and so forth, so they got replaced and they have new voice actors now. And that was like a big thing with the original voice actors, as well as a lot of hardcore fans. It really upset them.
Understandably so.
Which we don't often think about, like, the writers and the actors that are doing all this. We just see the games and we're just like, blah 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 blah. So I mean, I get the whole strike thing, but I also think that Nos is right. Just like how it was cheaper to go with different actors, they can go with people that aren't in a union, or that are willing to do it without joining a union and have that in their contract so that they can't, or whatever it may be. So
I'm
I
not
think it's
saying
harder
they
for
should.
the gaming industry to strike.
I just want to. I want it to be known. I don't think they should do this. I think that these companies and unions should bargain in good faith as to achieve a result that benefits everybody, because otherwise it's just going to be a mess that you have to clean up. And I just want to go back to playing games and enjoying games, talking about games, and not talking about politics and stuff like this.
Well, it goes back to that whole greed.
Yes, 100%.
But hang on. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're not just dealing with one side of greed here. Both sides want theirs. Let's
see. Okay, so what's next? As of Friday, SAG-Aftra video game actors are barred from lending their services to any struck games. Those services may include acting, singing, dancing, stunts, motion capture, auditions, camera tests, rehearsals, authorizing the use of one's voice or likeness, background, and stand-in work. Covered performers are also prohibited from promoting struck games via social media, interviews, conventions, festivals, award shows, podcast appearances, or any other platform. Holy crap. The ongoing San Diego Comic-Con has been exempt from this rule due to its proximity to the strike announcement. Very cool. The union has indicated that it will also hold pickets as part of the walkout. Only time will tell how long it will take the union and the companies to reach a tentative agreement and end the work stoppage. The last strike by video game actors stretched on for nearly a year, from October 2016 to September 2017. Back then, AI had yet to become a major concern, and performers were pushing for residual like payments based on video game sales, similar to how film and TV actors are compensated for their work. Van Drunen said companies would likely try to resolve the contract negotiations by September, but at the latest by the end of the year, before answering to investors during their next earnings calls. And that's Samantha Masunaga. And Christy Caras. I'm gonna go with Caras. So we're looking at delays for games. Now, one of the points that came out after the Hollywood strike was that these companies were shoring up investments. So what they would do is less people in writers' rooms, less projects being made at one time. They were going for quote unquote more quality than quantity. So what we might see after this, and there is an article that I wanted to look at about the aftermath of all this, and you can tell the run-of-the-mill actor who might have lost their house while this thing was going on because they couldn't work. They said that it was a death knell for them. They and the writer of the article asked them, would you do it all over again? And a lot of them said no. Now, the people who are already established, they've got their quote unquote bag, as the kids say. They were like, heck yeah, no, it was great. If I would do it all over again if I had to. That's coming from a very privileged standpoint. But the people who depended on these working, they said no, it was an absolute gut punch. I would not do it again. I don't have it up, but I'll look it up after this. Right.
Whenever you've got this type of union, like look at a good example of this is like the NFLPA.
Yeah.
For example, you've got a handful of, well, not really a handful, but you've got your top tier players who are making millions and millions of dollars who can hold out on a strike.
Yes.
Because they've got a ton of money that they're making.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got your regular rung of guys who are making less than $1 million.
Yeah.
Who can't withstand this, who can't sustain this length of a strike.
Yep.
Right. Who are pushing for negotiations to be completed from their own members, their own union stewards and negotiators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it sucks because this type of situation, you already have haves and have nots, and then they end up fighting. And because they're pressuring the more established, wealthier people to negotiate in good faith, it kind of accelerates how quickly they come to the bargaining table, and it kind of limits how much they can ask for because they're on a bit of a time crunch because a lot of their members are going to be broke if nothing happens.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Same thing with actors.
Yep. Exactly.
Which for the writers, it's really bad, and part of their strike, because you can have somebody that wrote like every episode on Friends, for example. You could have somebody like that, and they could be getting a royalty check for like $600 a month because they weren't compensated for that. But then you've got like $20,000 a month coming in for the actors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really bad. Like the lower level devs and actors and stuff like that, or people that don't have royalties built into their, like, I don't think video games have royalties built into their stuff. But yeah, it can be really bad, and it can be, a strike definitely hits you in the pocketbook for the person that's trying to get the right. So they need to try to get it done as quickly as possible, like Knoss said. But I don't know. It kind of is what it is. I just hope that they get squared away and better treatment.
Yeah.
These are always tricky situations, and it's easy to just drive by and think, oh, I understand exactly what's going on, even though I'm not a voice actor, I'm not a developer. I know because of, how you feel about unions or how you feel about greedy corporations, all that stuff. But it is so much more of a nuanced issue, and there's so much more to it than what you even read in articles.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can make a drive-by judgment about.
Right.
It would
Absolutely.
be great if you could.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
the reality is not that. The reality is you're talking about people's lives, and not every single one of these voice actors is a greedy SOB who just wants more money.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Some of these people just do it as a side hustle or whatnot.
And I mean, the implications of all this might not go in their favor. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people might lose their house because of this, or their ability to feed their family, you know, and what happens after that, the game industry might shrink. You know, we're heading towards something big now. And in the presence of all this, they can't get games out. Some of these might go defunct, you know, some of these studios. So, and then where are you going to work
like
then?
the small new startups.
Yeah, the smaller you know what I'm saying? So it's like, on one side is you're striking during, you know, inflation's high. The margins for these games are already like razor thin, and then you strike, and then all of a sudden that goes away, and then there goes your opportunity with it. You know what I mean? So it could hurt you possibly. On the other side, there needs to be protections for these people. There needs to be a wage, a living wage. Like, I did a video about the discrepancy between Jim Ryan and Cory Barlog and Christopher Judge. Cory Barlog made $4 million for God of War. Christopher Judge made $1 million for voicing Kratos. But Jim Ryan, he made upwards, I want to say his salary was $12 million, and he got like $100 million worth of stock in Sony. So the man is paid, okay? He doesn't have to worry about anything for the rest of his life. Not saying $4 million is nothing, but for a game that made $800 million, holy crap, you know, it seemed like a whole heck of a lot. So I say all that to say there needs to be protections. They need to be paid from the top down, decent wages. You know what I mean? And this AI thing is a really scary prospect. It is really scary. And there needs to be some kind of protections for these actors as far as that goes. I don't mind these companies saying, hey, you can use AI to help you write to do the little things that you don't want to spend time doing, or it's tedious and it takes a lot of time. Help us move faster in this process. Help us move faster in making this game. Use this as a tool. I don't mind that. Yeah. As far as them like replacing their voices and, you know, using their likeness, that cannot go forward. That can't. No. You know, they can't.
No,
do that.
That's just wrong, because then they're making hand over fist money without ever having to pay. You know, like you do it once, and then suddenly you've just got whatever you got.
Yeah.
Just wait until. Voice... Sorry, go ahead, Gigi.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, the whole voice actor thing kind of reminds me of with The Mandalorian with Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
He only voices it.
Yeah.
He doesn't walk in the suit. He doesn't do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of adorable. He holds a little pillow and pretends it's Baby Yoda.
Hilarious.
And it's really cute. And they wanted to pay him voice actor pay, which I don't remember. I can't find.
Is that why he took his mask off?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. At the end of season 1, when he took his mask off in that scene, that's how he got around the voice actor pay. So instead of getting, say it was like $20,000 per episode for a voice actor, he's getting the $600,000 per episode because he has had his face on camera. You know, like Disney for sure only wanted to pay him voice actor salary instead of the other salary, because he wasn't going to be on camera. And it's things like that just blow my mind. Like,
I'm sorry, that seems really greedy to me. Not gonna lie, like the fact that, like, what's wrong with getting, you know, voice actor pay for voicing a character? You know what I mean? It's like you have all these other projects lined up, you know, so what's wrong with getting paid voice actor pay for voicing a character? I don't think there's anything wrong.
I get what you're saying.
What you're worth.
Yeah,
you get what you're worth. I mean, Pedro Pascal is, you know, everybody knows who he is now.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
However, to play kind of a devil's advocate on it, you know that this is going to be huge because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know that it's going to be huge because Disney puts money out there and does all sorts of stuff to get money, right? I would want to figure out a way to get more money out of it, because I would know, like, that's like me. That would be like me voice acting something, knowing that I'm getting paid $20,000, but you're about to make $7 million on it.
Right on.
Like, I want more of that $7 million, because I'm the voice and the face of this.
Right on.
You know, like, it doesn't matter if he was in the suit or not.
Yeah.
He could have just said I was in the suit and had it written into his contract that nobody would say who was in the suit, you know what I mean? And, you know, and something like that. But, you know, just the craziness of it all. Like, I think what it is it goes to them. Like, I agree with your whole, that's greedy.
Well, I mean, all he had to do was, like, negotiate for a higher salary for voice actors. He didn't have to, because what that did was just kind of break the immersion of Mandalorians never taking their mask off. That's all it did.
To a degree, but it also showed his extreme love for this little guy, you know, Baby Yoda. Like, yeah, like it was the whole purpose of him taking the mask off was for him.
I'd have to go back and rewatch that. But like, I'm sure good writers can write around that. But if it was just so Pedro Pascal could make more money to, you know, not get voice actor pay, I think that's really selfish. Because it does not. Because I remember that was a big thing. You know, Mandalorians aren't supposed to take their freaking helmets off in front of other people.
Never, ever.
So it's like,
but another thing for me is, how hard is it, seriously, to get those emotions through just your voice?
That's one of the reasons why he should have been paid more as a voice actor, because it is hard work.
I don't think that voice actors should be on this. Here's your Happy Meal pay,
right, versus
your expensive, fancy 6-course meal pay.
Yeah,
like, that's not okay. And it's really hard to do voice acting.
100%.
And I think that voice actors should be compensated way better than they are.
Like V for Vendetta, that guy should have gotten super paid for that, because being able to evoke those kind of emotions with a mask on, no one ever seeing your face, dude, it is an art within itself, and it should get paid that way. And that's one of the things I'm okay with the Sag-Aftra going after, increasing the pay, especially for like those bigger projects, you know, like the Grand Theft Auto franchise, who's probably going to make $1 billion in the first week. The voice actors should get paid, and they should be able to get residuals from that work. I truly believe that. You might disagree, anyone out there in the audience, but they should. I believe
you should get royalties on your
royalties.
Work
that's what I meant.
Living, that's living on after you. You know, 100%. Like getting, you know, it's kind of like, look at it this way. You might say that the voice actors are being greedy. However, the developer is going to get their pay, and they're going to get their pay continuously, and they're going to get money continuously on sales. You know what I mean? For a while, the actors are going to get that one lump sum, and that's it. To me, that's not fair.
Well, yeah. As far as their salaries and working on projects at there, I don't know if devs get like residuals from games.
I don't know.
But like, yeah, they have a salary. You know what I mean? Yeah. Voice actors is gig work, so you have to be bouncing.
But you got to remember, like, you know, the devs. I mean, the people that are programming it might not,
right?
But that company sure is.
Oh yeah.
The studio sure is.
Oh yeah.
You can ask for
you know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing. You can ask for this, and then companies will just go non-union because it's easier. They're allowed to flex their budget a little bit further as a result.
Yeah.
You can demand all of this stuff, even if you were the most talented voice actor in the world. Doesn't mean they have to give it to you.
That's 100%. And that's one of the, I like the collective bargaining behind it. As far as unions trying to hold these companies over a barrel, I'm not sure I agree with that. But the idea, just coming together, say, hey, these are the changes we want to see. If you don't make those changes, we're all walking out. And not using a union to back them, I think that might go further than having a union backing you. But I am woefully ignorant on like how all of this stuff works, but just from the outside looking in, collective bargaining, I think that's fantastic. You know, get the things that you want to see change. You know, some things,
it's a good idea in concept,
right? Some things you're asking for might be to the moon and back, or absurd to, you know, to anyone else, you know, from the outside looking in, and that might be the things that you can't give them. But you know, there are some things that is truly an issue, and there are some things that need to change 100%. We hear about crunch all the time with these companies. You know, that needs to change. That's not unreasonable. You know what I mean? For like a voice actor, if he's like, let's say a small project, and he's like, I won't do this unless I'm getting like a $500K salary. It's like dog,
okay.
That's the game is not, probably, you know, a small indie studio is like, the game's not gonna make that much. We can't do that. It's like, that's asking too much, and we as humans do that sometimes. You know what I mean? But there are some real issues that need to change. And like you said, Nas, on both sides, there are some things that are just kind of unreasonable, absurd. You know,
There always are.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's always like I said, I know there's always the temptation to look at this from the outside and think you have an idea of what's going on, but you don't, unless you are involved and in the negotiating room, and you have all of the backstory that led to this point. It's really hard to accurately have an idea. Yeah. So I know that anytime a subject of unionization and collective bargaining comes up, there's always some people that are like, well, these unions are just greedy. Are you sure it's just them?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
We're all greedy to an
We're all
extent,
out for ourselves to some degree.
Yes.
I mean, we're selfish. By nature we are. We have to be.
Yeah. For me, I'm greedy for my games.
Selfishness is a survival trait. It's just that there's a certain point where it goes beyond the pale, like it goes way too far. But being selfish on its own isn't inherently a bad thing. You care 100%. About yourself so you can care about others. Of course, you have to have some level of selfishness.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
and again,
go for it. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and again, it's like, you know, Nos has a different way of thinking and viewpoints, but he helps me kind of be like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me think on that, you know?
Yes.
Just like you do. Just like I might, I don't know.
You do. No, you do.
So, you know, when we're discussing all this stuff, we're just looking at this news and then trying to decipher ourselves, get you guys to think, etc. So it's not like we're being like, oh yeah, this strike's for sure happening. But I like that, like in the article you were reading, it was hey, San Diego Comic-Con is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Things have already been set up. It's not, they're showing a great amount of forward thinking in you're not gonna just strike and not be able to go to this because it's already set up. People have already bought their tickets. People have already, you know, paid for the panels. People have already paid for autographs and stuff like that. So they're not just being greedy little jerks and being like, well, you get nothing because we need to try to make this point and try to get, you know, stuff for our actors. So they're actually like thinking about fans in that respect, and themselves because they make money off of these appearances and off of autographs and pictures, all this other stuff. So yes, they're thinking for themselves, but at the same time, for me, like I have a lot more respect because they're like, hey, this San Diego Comic-Con is coming up, so we need to do this, or these games are already under this contract, or they're already set for this timeline, so no, that these aren't included. They could have been jerks and been like, we're not doing anything whatsoever, including current projects.
That would have looked terribly.
It would have looked absolutely terribly, and that is probably why they didn't do it. But for me, I try not to focus on obscure motives too much, just because I don't want to be that jaded person.
Yes.
Embrace it.